If you have any questions, we can go through one by one, especially if you have design pointers or something we have discussed so far, because we covered many things. We covered like what is architecture, or what is the template, what is the policies, how you plan it, and how you go ahead with, bring up control plane and data plane also. We're going to have data center first and then branches, could be spoke branches, could be multiple, and then what sort of devices as of now we have, and the plug and play, how you convert your router from XC to SD-WAN, those things we have discussed. So if you have any questions on those, please, we can discuss right now. I have heard there were a couple of questions on licensing, and there were a couple of questions on the models, so we can discuss that as well. We have Madhavan as well, and we can talk about.
Hey, Prashant. A couple of questions for you on documentation. So typically we've steered our partners over to IWAN CVDs, SD-WAN CVDs, things like that. Do you have recommendations as to what documentation we should be looking at for migration?
Yeah, so a couple of CVDs we are working on. But recently we got the SAS CVD, which has a lot of detail about how it works. So similarly, we are working on the migration and a couple more parts, which are going to be published very soon, so that you can have those documentation just like we have plug and play, and go through that and do that part. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions do we have? And any other complaints?
Very quiet crowd this morning, huh?
Yeah.
So I guess it's more of a kind of a complaint, I guess. But since you asked about it,
yeah.
So the issue that we have is like on your last slide, it was simplify the routing design, and like a lot of our customers today will have DMVPN or they'll have MPLS, and it's really not that complicated for them, right? They have full spoke-to-spoke connectivity between all sites. They really don't have to do much. But now if they put in like a VH 100, we have to have like regional meshes. We have to have a lot of policy. It's not simpler. It's actually pretty difficult for a lot of the customers. So that's kind of, well, a lot of our big customers, it's much more complicated than it was previously, at least for the large customers.
Actually, I just missed the last pointers on this. I was not very clear.
No, I was just saying it's much more. It's a lot more complex for the large customers than just traditional like DMVPN, because a lot of the design constraints that Intel puts on.
So there are a couple of Go ahead. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Not working.
So by default, it comes in full mesh. Is there a concern regarding the scale? I mean, what is the need for regional policy? Okay. Oh. Got it. So I'll repeat the question. If you go with full mesh by default, the number of tunnels that support in low-end platforms, right? You need a higher capacity platform. So we are planning it's in roadmap to have dynamic BFD. So you will still have full mesh, but it will have a better tunnel scale, but targeted sometime second of next year.
Yeah, I mean, it always depends. Like as Madhur mentioned, we're gonna improve those number of tunnels and scale very soon, as much as possible. But if you look at, it's not possible putting higher end boxes everywhere, right? The highest number of BFD we support is 6,000, right? So we have to plan at the moment what we are supporting a number of branches, going with regional solution. But at the same time, you can have those, let's say, voice sort of services, have them interacted directly. And the policy is like, we are planning to work a couple more parts on the policies to make it quite simple. Like you have regional-wise policies. We are still thinking about it. So you can have just region 1, region 2, and just have a policy running. Those things we are thinking about to come up with, right? But right now, as you have to go with one by one and define those custom control policies and define the branches to make sure you do not breach the scale numbers. Yep. Thank you. Yep.
So I have some general feedback on this.
Yep.
So I have a customer deploying IWAN right now, like actively deploying IWAN.
Yep.
And I can't recommend Viptela to them or SD-WAN. So a couple reasons for that. VWAS, so they're currently using it in IWAN, which we don't support on the same box today. I know it's roadmap, but it looks like it's quite a ways out. And then the big thing for them is TrustSec support. That inline SGT support isn't there, so just make sure that gets November release.
Okay, I can comment on that. So, I mean, to answer the first part, the IWAN deployment is still supported, right? We have not officially announced end of sale or end of life, right? I mean, those are DMVPN and those features have been there for a while. So, only thing is we won't have any new features, right, on the IWAN track. Most of the innovation is going to be on SD-WAN. And to address the second part, for inline SGT, there are plans to bring in SDA, SD-WAN integration first. That is targeted for March, right, where you will have a WAN edge router, the ISR, ASR, that will function as a SDA border and also SD-WAN edge node, right? So that's planned first. I mean, inline SGT is something part of the roadmap, which again will be second half next year. But first to bring in SDA, SD-WAN integration, and then we'll have SDA, SGT support.
Thank you. So any other questions do we have here?
All right. Just last thing I just want to drive home is, like, please let us route leak. Like, all the other options you gave are just as dangerous, but more complicated to put in. So if we do route leaking with, like, BGP communities, like we did with IWAN for converted to unconverted sites, it solves all the problems. So unless you're going to put in a better option for services in the underlay, I think route leaking is the best option.
So you mean the community, BGP community at the moment?
We used BGP communities to distinguish that this is a non-SD-WAN site, this is a converted site, so that we avoided that, you know, using the underlay to get to a SD-WAN site. So I'm just like saying route leaking is the easiest way to do services in the underlay. So either give us a better option or let us do that. Because the loopbacks, the .1Q trunks, those are all just as dangerous but much harder to configure and have more caveats.
So, I mean, what is the primary use case? I thought you said that underlay services, right?
Yeah, underlay, like they have a SIP service in the underlay. They require direct converted to unconverted during migration for like voice calls and stuff like that. They don't want to go through a regional hub.
Okay.
And we could do it with IWAN. It was,
no, agreed.
You had to be very prescriptive, but you could do it.
Right. So, I mean, we are looking into it.
Yeah, I mean, we are looking at a couple of solutions to come up quite simple way. But at the same time, we have to consider we are taking care of the control plane security and data plane. We don't want to leak everything and expose it. One way we say we are secure, we are the only vendor we are very secure in the control plane. That's another way we are exposing things. So we are thinking about those parameters and coming up with a good plan that could solve things. But as of now, you can play with those BGP community and filtering is what we have, and man, that's gonna be a solution for now.
So, I guess another piece of feedback is, before Viptela, Cisco was pretty transparent with partners and customers around, there was the data sheet performance and throughput numbers that the ISR platform would support once you started turning features on, so that it helped us better scope the right hardware, the right SKU, the right bill of materials. I've yet to see actually tested throughput numbers of 5,000, 2,000, 1,000. And I know from real-world implementations that the data sheet spec for like a 2,000 that's spec'd out at 1 gig we're not really getting 1 gig. So are you guys looking to release vEdge tested performance numbers with features turned on so that we can right-size the design as products get ordered for our customers?
Yes, absolutely. So we will have for both the vEdge and also the ISR ASR platforms.
Right. Like Nikolai yesterday showed us the ISR tested performance numbers with real-world packet sizes, right? That's something that if we're looking at a vEdge 2000 or a 5000 or a 1000, we're not seeing anything outside of the data sheet, right? So
sure. I mean,
if those documents could be released, it'll help us accurately quote the right size for the right target locations.
Okay, sure. I mean, we can provide that.
Just I guess a question for the group overall. How many of you have a lab of Viptela that you use to show the technology to your customers?
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. So that's one of the points I wanted to get to, right? These guys, some of them have ordered lab kits,
nice,
and are just waiting. Would it be helpful if we created like a POV bundle like we did with SDA? Yeah, kind of. So you're saying you would like to see a SWAT type engagement for SD-WAN? No, that's why I repeated it, right? So, yep.
So is this for the controller spin-up or just for the device? The device, there is no enforcement. If you can get hold of the image, so you could just use this SD-WAN. So, yeah. The cloud control license, that's something we are formulating a process so we can communicate.
Yeah, so we have, the Cisco teams have the ability to request, right, a cloud instance of the management for your company, right? If you have a need for that, right, let us know, let your local EN guy know, and we'll have to gather some information. They're going to want to tie it to like an active deal, right? Because we have to justify it, right? But we definitely can, in most cases, get you the management infrastructure in the cloud so that you can start demoing or doing POVs or whatever.
Yeah, and you guys can reach out to us if there are any issues. Let's say you are doing lab setup, you're stuck somewhere, we can always help you guys. Let's say it could be technical, could be some questions you have. You can just drop a note to your point of contact, and we can get back to you. Any help is fine, because that's how we can go ahead to the next step. And we have lab, things are running, we understand the technology, and we can demo those with the customers. So any other questions do we have in the room?
So I have a couple of questions. How many of you tried XCSD-WAN in the lab? How about other thing is regarding the voice features? So do you think like adding voice features like SRST or PSTN gateway functionality, is that, critical? Okay. Okay. That's good. Thank you.
Let me just bring one more thing up here as we're closing. So are there any inhibitors that you guys would like to share with us that you guys are seeing out there that are kind of hampering you from doing a deployment, going to that next step, with the customer and trying to do a proof of concept, proof of value, anything like that you guys want to share? Because what we're kind of getting at is we do have resources available to help you. We want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. So reach out to your local teams, because we do have ways to get you through a deal, especially if you guys aren't comfortable. This is a new architecture, new technology for all of us, so we want to make sure you guys are successful.
All right. Well, we have 35 minutes on the clock, so I'm going to keep throwing out questions. So, who are you guys seeing as like our main competitor in this space? Okay, I got a Silver Peak, VeloCloud,
right.
IWAN. Okay, IWAN.
So one of the newer things that we're seeing that we didn't see last year is the advent of Tier 1 OEMs starting to bake off. So like before, we were seeing a lot of nascent startups last year. This year, we're seeing OEMs like VMware, Citrix, Fortinet, these are established OEMs that have account relationships with our customers with IT spend budget. Whereas before you had your Versas, your Silver Peaks, these guys didn't have established account relationships. So I think next year you're going to see some of these more mature OEMs that have global support, global supply chains and depots and account relationships out in the field that have already been established. So it, looking forward, looks a lot different, your competitive landscapes, than it did looking back.
Totally agree. I think that was part of the natural progression and consolidation in the market, right? And you're absolutely right. I mean, folks like VMware, they have relationships inside of our accounts that we don't even have in some cases, right? So yeah, I mean we need to address that for sure.
Sure, and that's why we're trying to bring in stickiness, like having integration with SDA, right, or ACI. So that will help at least to address those partners, right? So end-to-end Cisco value prop.
Well, and some of the older value prop that Tela had was that you could have a low-cost box that got you the business outcome, and you didn't necessarily need the ISR, and now it feels like it's kind of a retreat away from that strategy instead of branching that strategy, meaning the vEdge development seems to be like a release or two behind instead of co-developing two different tracks so that our large customers that have already closed and are running vEdge in production, they're from the way these roadmaps are being released to us, it looks like they're sort of on the back burner or in the icebox until the cEdge and ISRs take front and center stage. And that's not a healthy message for all of your current vEdge customers or your vEdge deals that are being closed now because we're waiting for release integrations.
Yeah, I mean, to answer that, right, there are some features that will be supported only in ISR, like, for example, the embedded security you might have seen, right? I mean, there is some, like, we're trying to bring in the FEC and packet duplication. Those kind of features will be supported in vEdge also. But in security front and, like, advanced TCP optimization, like caching and other things, that will be more on the ISR ASR front. The second part is to address the price point, right? So we have a low-end platform, like vEdge 100 equivalent would be the ISR 1000 series. I mean, initially when we started, the tunnel scale is lower. Currently, the first release, the tunnel scale with 1100 is 100. But going forward, we'll have 200, right? I mean, eventually, it'll be on par with vEdge 100, right? So, I mean, there is plan to, it won't be as low as vEdge 100, but 1100 at least would be on par with the vEdge 100 platforms.
Right? I just also want to...
I mean, even the 1000s. Like your vEdge 1000, a $3,000 list price, that's data sheet rated at 1 gig. Mm-hmm. The 4351 is a $14,000 list price, and it's rated at 300 megs.
No, the 4331 is we are positioning as 1 gig platform.
We got from Nikolai yesterday. It's 364 megs throughput when you actually turn the services and features on.
Right. See, again, so vEdge even, like you mentioned, vEdge 1000, right? The datasheet number is with 1400 byte packet size. Same thing with 4331 also. I mean, the licensing is based on 1400 byte packet size, right?
Yeah, right. But from a pure math and customer perspective, I've got datasheet 1 gig, mm-hmm. vEdge 1000 actually pushing about 650 megs, okay, for $3,000. The ISR 4351, datasheet $14,000, mm-hmm. rated at 1 gig, but it's actually pushing 360 megs. So I can pay $14,000 for a 360 meg box or $3,000 for a 600 meg box. The math.
No, agreed. When
right,
you compare,
that's the math. That's the numbers, right? Like those are data points instead of market manipulations.
Sure. I mean, we will with the bundle, DNA bundle, I think the 4031 should be, there will be some price difference like I mentioned, right? Because essentials, you're going to get like the embedded security features, right? That, I mean, probably added value, right, when compared to VH.
At $11,000, we'll just buy a firewall.
No, I mean, if you look at the bundle together, the hardware plus the bundle, we should not be seeing that much difference, right? Otherwise, we can go and check. I mean, probably we can get back. Yeah, the DNA bundle is there. Right. When you compare the bundle, we should not be seeing that much price difference, but we can confirm that part.
So one of the issues that we have in large-scale SD-WAN deployments is we're given internet locally at the branch. Then we got to secure that. So we need to be able to drop in a firewall and manage that. And I know you guys have come out with SD-WAN security, but how are you managing that? Do you have to manage it individually, or can you snap it into FMC?
It's managed by vManage today, right?
Okay, so you could actually go into vManage and manage all that.
So it will be single point of management from vManage itself.
Okay, I don't think that was explained very well yesterday.
Okay, there was a separate session for security. Okay.
So everything you're gonna manage from vManage. It could be security, it could be anything which is residing on the SD-WAN device, right?
Yeah. So anything we support with SD-WAN, vManage will be the single source in terms of management.
I just wanted to quickly echo his comments about feature set on vEdge. It seems like you guys aren't doing any future innovation on vEdge. So all the things that you said were roadmapped, I believe were in the pipeline even before the Cisco acquisition of them. And I get security features and WAN optimization not coming, but IPv6 support and EIGRP, which you both roadmapped for cEdge, have no committed roadmap for vEdge. And those seem like features that you could easily put into the vEdge platform, but you're just not doing the investment.
Yeah, EIGRP, it's not coming in vEdge.
Right, and that makes us, as a partner community, feel like you aren't innovating on the vEdge platform.
Yeah, I mean, so there are a couple of things there. We will have, I mean, like I said, whatever committed to customer before acquisition, like we add FEC and packet do, right? Wherever there is competitive threat to add those features, that will be added. Yeah. The EIGRP is unique, right? Only Cisco customers going to use.
And there are a couple of scenarios. Let's say the reason you need EIGRP because you're already running EIGRP with iOS XC device, and you want to convert that device to SD-WAN. That is where you need EIGRP. If it is new site where you're not running EIGRP and you're having VH box, you don't need EIGRP there, right? So that's one motive for this.
No, hold on a second. I want to sort of dispel that one because everybody's layer 3 switch is running a Cisco switch on EIGRP, right? Okay. And last I checked, a year and a half ago, Cisco released EIGRP out to the IETF. Like, you should be able to code to that. I think I'm going to see it in a Quagga router before I actually see it in a Viptela router.
I see. I mean, again, if you have layer 3 switch there, you will have a Cisco device, right? The idea is if you have a brownfield device like ISO 4K, we can easily put XCSD-WAN, right, and support EIGRP on that. Right. I mean, a long-term stance is to have ISR, ASR, right, as the preferred platform. I mean, there will be a transition period where we will have VH in the market, right, maybe for another 2 years. But then eventually, we would like to position the Cisco hardware, right, Cisco gears like ISR, ASR, or ENCS. So.
All right. A couple of additional things that were on WebEx from the competitive standpoint. People are seeing Citrix as an option that looks pretty palatable, and we're also seeing ISPs positioning their SD-WAN solutions. Yeah, on Cloud. Yeah. So,
do you have any pointers why they are preferring, like, apart from when they say it is quite competitor, is there any value added or something which says it's competitor against us? let's say a couple of features they do, we don't do that, or a couple of things they have more granular than that, or just a normal talk about it?
Well, yeah, that we'll have to ask for some comment on that.
Okay, so a couple of things Citrix was doing really good. Like, so Citrix initially used to do, I mean, still they are doing FEC and packet duplication, and that is where we were not doing so far, because they used to go to competitor. They say, you know what, to the customer, they say, you know what, I send a packet from here, I send duplicate packet from another link. So that is what we are doing. So in the VH boxes, we are coming up with FEC, we already got it, but GA is in November, as well as packet duplication we are getting in November. So we're going to have the packet duplication and FEC by November, as well as in ISR, we're going to come in the March. So ultimately, we're going to cover those parameters what Citrix used to point against us very soon. So, yeah. So the best is Cisco SD-WAN.
Do you guys address threats from the security space? Fortinet has an SD-WAN product that is free with a feature, right? Palo has a roadmap for, like, the threat for the WAN edge may not be coming from routers. It may be coming from firewall vendors that are giving away. I mean, like Meraki MX is a classic example. They're giving away SD-WAN. Mm-hmm. You don't have to pay for it. Fortinet is giving away SD-WAN for free. You don't have to pay for it, right? And, oh, by the way, the MX and Fortinet have next-gen firewall capabilities with app, user mapping, streams, and telemetry that is very firmly in a security-minded, they have security dashboards. Like, even if vManage evolves to the point where you've got some layer 7 application rule set capabilities, you're not a security company. You won't have a security dashboard the likes of Firepower Management Center that Cisco has. So how do you rationalize that when security is also top of mind as well?
Right. So phase 1 we will have in November release, right? There will be application firewall, IPS, IDS, and then URL filtering. In March we have AMP and Threat Grid, right? And there will be integration eventually with FMC, but I mean that's long-term roadmap, right? Sometimes second half. So we are addressing it, and it's part of Essentials, like I said. So you'll get all the security features part of the base license itself, right? Yeah.
So that is one thing. Another thing is just not offensive, but yes, today any vendor who can do IPsec tunnel, they are SD-WAN vendors. So that's one part. Everywhere we are seeing. So if you look at Fortinet, they can't scale like us. So today, I don't know if you have scale numbers, that's quite challenging. And to take out the security threat, as Madhur mentioned, we have got security feature, the Great Wall thing, which is the launch in November, and the AMP and all is coming in March. So we're going to cover those parts very soon, and you can take things out. Thanks. Yeah.
Hi. I have some case where the branch has only a private circuit.
Okay.
Okay. And without internet connection. Mm-hmm. How can I deploy ZTP for this scenario? Because the router should reach the smart account. Can I deploy a local ZTP server on my data center?
Okay, so there are two, so I can address in two ways. So let's say if you have ISR router at the moment, we don't have on-prem PNP available. For that, we are working on a couple of ways like bootstrap scenario, and we are going to come up with that very soon. And we are finding out what other method we can work on it. If it is a VH box, you can have on-prem ZTP.
With the VH box?
Yes, so Viptela VH box. If you have Viptela VH box, you can have on-prem ZTP server running, and you can do ZTP for private link or via private link.
And for CH?
For CH, we have only cloud solution at the moment, and we are working on, or we are thinking about how we can come up as an on-prem where you don't need to contact to the device helper at cisco.com.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So one comment related to what you said, and I actually agree. Everyone's claiming their SD-WAN these days. Yeah. But in the Meraki presentation we sat in a couple days ago, the whole time they were telling us how awesome their SD-WAN was. And then we go and sit in your guys' stuff, and you say how awesome your SD-WAN is. Now, I totally agree the Viptela is way more advanced, has way more features, but there is a severe marketing problem inside Cisco right now when it comes to their SD-WAN product offering, because you guys are kind of going head-to-head, and if you talk to the Meraki team, they're saying how great their product is, and then you go and talk to you guys and say how great your product is. Now, usually there's a cost difference, but the problem I've had, now I found these numbers, they're way more cost competitive, but Viptela is usually the most expensive compared to all of your competitors. So that's what usually decides it for my customers, is not necessarily, hey, we have the best solution. It's you guys are already the most expensive, and we're talking about potential price increases. That's what's hurting me, not necessarily what features we do or do not have. Because honestly, what I've found, most customers, no matter what solution they go to, they're happy. Whether it's VeloCloud, Viptela, Meraki, it's better than what they had. So, I mean, we can all tout, hey, look at this really cool SD-WAN, but at the end of the day, cost speaks, especially when you're talking about a $2 million deal.
I completely agree. I'll leave this question on sales, but just to answer one point is like we both are politically correct.
All right, anything else? So,
do you guys have anything else, or something I should have covered in this, which I did not? So, just give us a pointer, and yeah.
No, I do, guys. Want you guys. I'm going to echo what he said. There is a price point that the market will support, and if you're coming in or if you're directionally aligning to break away and continue to move above that price point that the market supports, we're going to see competitive takeouts, right? I mean, if you're not investing in vEdge, which had a much lower price point, and even the Viptela solution had a premium price tag to it, and doing all of this development on an ISR platform that has a 3 and 4x uplift to it, the direction you're going is breaking away on top of a market-supported price point, right? You're going to increase a competitive wedge in your customer base.
So we're going to keep some surprises for you, which will take at least 2 months. We are working on something, so we have surprise very soon, maybe next CVT or later on. So that surprise will take those market back. So, yeah.
All right, so really good feedback, guys. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. I posted a presentation in the WebEx team room on converting an iOS XE router to the SD-WAN image. Walks you through step by step. It's from the video that was on YouTube. There's a cool video on YouTube. Walks you right through it. I guess with that, we'll take a break, and I think we're on again at like what, 10:15? Is it? Yeah. So 10:15, we're going to be here talking about enterprise NFV, and maybe for those folks on WebEx who are seeing service providers provide those services, this is an option for you, right? So we'll talk about that in the next session. So thanks.